Jimmy Kimmel has officially entered the biggest crisis of his career. Just days after ABC suspended his late-night talk show, Jimmy Kimmel Live, he has now been spotted meeting with a team of lawyers in Los Angeles, a move that signals the battle is far from over. The suspension of Kimmel's show is not just a late-night television drama. It has turned into a firestorm of politics, media control, and free speech that is shaking Hollywood and Washington at the same time. And today, we're diving into every detail. Why Kimmel was suspended, who is demanding his apology, the behind-the-scenes tensions inside ABC and Disney, the shocking role of the FCC, the reaction from celebrities, politicians, and fans, and what this legal move could mean for the future of late-night television. So let's start with what happened. On September 10th, conservative activist Charlie Kirk, co-founder of Turning Point USA, was assassinated while speaking at an event in Utah. The suspect, Tyler Robinson, was arrested, and instantly the political blame game began. Conservatives painted Robinson as a left-wing extremist, while others pushed back on that narrative. But in one of his monologues just days after the tragedy, Jimmy Kimmel went on air and delivered remarks that are now haunting him. He implied that the suspect wasn't a left-wing radical at all, but rather someone whose political affiliations were being twisted for political gain. He accused what he called the MAGA gang of seizing on the tragedy to score political points. The backlash was immediate, and it was brutal. Conservative commentators erupted, demanding ABC take action. The FCC chairman weighed in, calling Kimmel's words truly sick, and questioning whether ABC had violated its duty to serve the public. This was not just criticism. This was political pressure at the highest level. Within days, ABC announced it was suspending Jimmy Kimmel Live indefinitely. Affiliates across the country, including major groups like Nexstar and Sinclair, announced they would no longer air the program. For many viewers, it was a stunning moment. For Kimmel, it was devastating. Now, here's where things get even more intense. Jimmy Kimmel has not issued an apology. He hasn't backtracked. In fact, insiders say he is furious. He's been described as incredibly pissed and unwilling to bow down to demands. And make no mistake, the demands are real. Sinclair Broadcasting, one of the biggest owners of ABC-affiliated stations, has publicly said they want Kimmel to personally apologize to Charlie Kirk's family and even make a donation to Turning Point USA before his show would be considered for return. For a late-night comedian who has built his brand on political satire, biting commentary, and defiance, that kind of public surrender would be humiliating. That brings us to this week's development. Jimmy Kimmel was spotted walking into a Century City law office with his security guards, entering quietly but very visibly. What does that mean? It means Kimmel is preparing to fight. Lawyers are now involved, and when lawyers enter the picture, it's no longer just a television dispute. It becomes a question of contracts, free speech rights, and potentially a massive lawsuit. Kimmel has a lucrative deal with ABC and Disney, and if the network is breaking that contract under political pressure, his legal team could have grounds to fight back. Let's not forget, this isn't happening in a vacuum. Late-night television is built on political commentary. From Stephen Colbert to Jon Stewart to Seth Meyers, satire and criticism of politicians has always been the heart of these shows. That's why this suspension has sent shockwaves across the industry. Colbert and Stewart have both spoken out in support of Kimmel, saying censorship has no place in comedy. Conan O'Brien went even further, saying the suspension should disturb everyone who cares about free speech. David Letterman, a legend in the field, called it managed media and warned this is a dangerous precedent. Meanwhile, the political world is just as divided. Former President Barack Obama condemned the suspension, saying it was government coercion and a direct threat to free speech. He warned that if entertainers can be silenced this way, the First Amendment itself is under attack. On the other side, Donald Trump praised ABC's decision, claiming Kimmel crossed a line. But even some conservatives have expressed concern. Senator Ted Cruz, while criticizing Kimmel's comments, admitted that government threats towards broadcasters are dangerous and reminiscent of political intimidation. Inside ABC, morale is low. Staffers on Jimmy Kimmel Live have said they were blindsided. One described it as a total shock, saying there was no warning, no communication, and no roadmap for when the show might return. Writers and producers are now left in limbo, wondering whether their jobs will exist in the coming months. Protests have already erupted outside ABC studios and Disney headquarters. Fans are holding signs demanding Kimmel's return and calling out censorship. Hashtags like Bring Back Kimmel and Free Speech Now have been trending across social media, showing just how far this controversy has spread beyond late-night television. At the heart of it all is a critical question. Is Jimmy Kimmel being punished for crossing a line of decency, or is he the victim of a coordinated political effort to silence a critic? The answer to that question will define what happens next, not just for Kimmel, but for every other host who relies on their platform to speak freely. Now let's talk about what Kimmel's legal strategy might look like. First, he could claim breach of contract if ABC suspended him without following the terms of his deal. Second, he could argue that the FCC's public threats influenced ABC in a way that violated his First Amendment rights. That would be a groundbreaking case because while private companies aren't bound by the First Amendment in the same way the government is, proving that a government agency's pressure directly caused ABC's decision could open the door for legal recourse. And finally, Kimmel might be looking to strengthen his negotiating position, using the threat of legal action to push ABC and Disney into either reinstating his show or offering him a massive settlement. The stakes couldn't be higher. If Kimmel returns without apologizing, it would be seen as a victory for free speech. If he is forced to apologize or step down, it would be seen as a warning shot to every other late-night host. And if this turns into a courtroom battle, we could be looking at one of the most consequential media lawsuits in decades. As of now, Kimmel remains silent publicly, but the fact that he's lawyered up says everything. The man who has built his career on jokes, satire, and standing up to politicians is now facing a fight that could define his legacy. Is he willing to risk it all? Or will ABC and Disney bow to pressure and demand he take the fall? One thing is clear, this story is far from over. Late-night television has always thrived on controversy, but this time, the controversy isn't a punchline. It's a battle for power, speech, and the future of media in America. And Jimmy Kimmel is right at the center of it. Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more celebrity updates just like this.